Chapter 1011. Susanna opened her mouth in exasperation but didn't dare to utter another word. What an impudent man. I am still his sister-in-law, after all. How can he criticize me so rudely? Since old Mr. Graham favors and sides with them, I hope he dies in there. Benjamin walked up to Orissa and hugged her and the children. His darkened expression significantly softened. You all can go back first. Orissa looked at him and shook her head. No, we'll stay here and wait for Dad to come out. We'll be ill at ease anyway if we go back. Benjamin gazed at her and patted her head. Daddy, we don't want to go back. We want to wait for Grandpa to come out. Gavin choked out with tears brimming in his eyes. Benjamin hugged them tightly. Okay, we'll stay here and wait for your Grandpa to come out, then. Don't worry about us. I'll keep an eye on the kids, Orissa said to him. She didn't want to add to his trouble since he was already worried sick about Darius. Benjamin nodded. Ethan and Jack brought some refreshments over. Mr. Graham, Mrs. Graham, have some water. Thank you. Orissa received the water and handed a glass to Benjamin. He gestured at her. Let the kids drink first. Orissa distributed the water to her children, and they finished off 2 glasses together. Benjamin took a glass of water and gave it to Orissa. Drink some too. She took a few sips and said, you should take some water, too, to keep you warm. Although the weather wasn't cold, drinking water could help invigorate him. He listened to her and finished the water she hadn't drunk. Ethan and Jack also handed some drinks to Kingsley, Jonathan, the Graham family's relatives, and members of the Bailey, Patterson, and Watts families. They helped tend to the needs of those closer to Benjamin and completely ignored Brian's and Nick's families. Both Susanna and Nick's wife were dissatisfied upon noticing that. Brian's face also darkened as he snorted. Ethan and Jack glanced at them and immediately averted their gazes, leaving them unattended. Hey, we want to drink some water too, Nick's son shouted arrogantly and rudely at Ethan and Jack. Ethan smiled. I'm sorry, but there's no more water. Does he think we serve his family? I couldn't care less about what he wants. He can pour his own water if he's thirsty. The teenager, probably in his rebellious phase, pointed a finger at Ethan and scolded, don't you know how to refill the water if it's finished? Nick's wife quickly tugged at her son's clothes. Quit stirring a ruckus. Fetch the water yourself if you're thirsty. Mom, didn't you see their attitude? Does he plan to continue working in our family? The teenager glared at Ethan in disdain. I work for Mr. Graham, not your family. You don't have the right to order me around, Ethan replied mockingly. Naturally, the Mr. Graham he mentioned referred to Benjamin. Face flushing in a fury, Nick's son uttered insolently as if he was trying to settle the score, you. Yes, you. If you hadn't brought the police over, my dad wouldn't have been taken away. You better watch yourself if my dad doesn't get released. Ethan didn't take his threats seriously. After serving Benjamin for so many years, Ethan had more or less adopted some of Benjamin's temperament. No one can penalize your father if he didn't violate the law. However, if he truly committed an offense, I should let you know Mr. Graham is not a pushover either. Benjamin shot a forbidding look at Nick's son. When the latter met Benjamin's eyes, he was scared out of his wits and hastily averted his gaze. How dare you act so haughtily when you're just an immature brat, Kingsley sneered. Who do you think you're scolding? Unable to take that slamming, the teenager glowered at Kingsley. If Nick's wife hadn't held her son in place, he would have lunged forward and gotten into a fight with Kingsley. Peefed. What a joke. Kingsley glanced at the teenager contemptuously. The Graham family's relatives weren't impressed by the altercation, much less members of the Bailey, Patterson, and Watts families. Kingsley's mother hinted at her son with her eyes to behave. Old Mr. Graham is still inside the emergency room. Quit stirring a commotion here. Kingsley pouted and moved to stand next to Jonathan. Benjamin sat beside Orissa. His hands were placed on his knees, and his body was slightly arched. He stared intently in the emergency room's direction with intense worry clouding his eyes. Chapter 1012. Orissa and the 6 kids sat together at one side. Depressed, the children remained quiet and gazed at the emergency room anxiously. Orissa reached out to hold Benjamin's hand. When he sensed her tender touch, His eyes gleamed as he turned to look at her. Orissa flashed a reassuring smile at him. He tightened his grip on her hand in response. Although the two didn't say a word, they tacitly understood each other. Therefore, being in one another's presence was already a form of consolation. Everyone stayed outside the emergency room's entrance. As time ticked by, Orissa grew more unsettled. Why isn't anyone coming out of the room yet? Isa. Mary thought she saw Orissa and the kids from afar. Moving closer, she realized it truly was Orissa. Grandaunt. Orissa hastily got to her feet and hurried toward Mary when she saw the latter. The 6 kids jogged over as well and hugged Mary's legs. Great-grandaunt. Mary's heart ached terribly when she saw the children crying. She hugged and coaxed them. What happened? Mary's heart sank when she noticed the crowd outside the emergency room. She scanned her surroundings, looking for Benjamin. Upon seeing him sitting on the bench, she heaved an inward sigh of relief. The kid's grandpa fainted, Orissa said to Mary. Mary knitted her brows in concern while asking in an undertone, is it serious? We don't know yet. Orissa sighed. Mary nodded and comforted her. Old Mr. Graham is blessed with good fortune. He will be fine. Orissa forced a smile. Grandaunt, how did you know we're here? I went to have my blood sample taken earlier. I thought I saw you when I passed here, so I came over. Unexpectedly, something bad happened to old Mr. Graham, Mary explained to Orissa. Wasn't he healthy all the while? Why did he faint all of a sudden? Orissa was about to elaborate when Benjamin strode over. Grandaunt. Mary lifted her head to look at Benjamin and consoled him. Your dad will be all right. Don't worry too much. Benjamin nodded. Grandaunt, you should go back and rest. That's not necessary. I'm fine. I'll stay here to keep all of you company. Mary couldn't leave now that she knew what had happened. She was also worried about Darius, as he had visited her at the hospital on multiple occasions. Susanna was baffled when she saw an old woman conversing with Benjamin and the others in such a friendly manner. She whispered to her husband, who's that old lady? Is she one of our relatives? But why don't I remember having a relative like her? How would I know? Brian glanced over. He looked away scornfully after noticing Mary's ordinary clothes. Perhaps she's one of Benjamin's wife's poor relatives. I think some people are worse than others' poor relatives, Kingsley couldn't help but retort when he accidentally heard Brian's remark. Brian's face darkened. However, because Kingsley was a member of the Watts family, not to mention Kingsley's father was also present, Brian couldn't lash out. I don't think you all care about old Mr. Graham at all. I suggest you all leave and return home to avoid becoming a source of annoyance to the other people here, Kingsley jeered at them arrogantly. How can you say that? He's my dad. Brian suppressed his rage. Be quiet, Kingsley. Kingsley's father scolded, albeit without genuinely meaning to reprimand his son. Kingsley made a gesture of zipping up his mouth before turning around and walking away. Benjamin and Orissa didn't notice the argument. They led Mary to a bench and said, take a seat, Grandaunt. Orissa supported Mary as they moved toward the bench. The 6 children surrounded them and thoughtfully imitated their mother's actions. Have a seat too, all of you. Mary told them to sit as well. Then, they waited for Darius to come out of the emergency room together. The 6 children sat beside their great-grandaunt as Orissa sat on the other end while hugging the kids. Grandaunt, how do you feel today? Orissa gazed at Mary concernedly. Mary chirped, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Hearing that, Orissa nodded. She fell silent afterward as Darius' condition occupied her mind. Chapter 1013. It was not until almost 2 hours had passed that Darius was wheeled out of the emergency room. Dad. They all rushed forward. Someone from Brian's family nearly knocked Orissa to the ground. Fortunately, Benjamin caught her and helped to steady her, but his expression turned grim. Watch it. His fury was directed at Susanna. I'm all right, Orissa reassured him before staring anxiously at Darius. Doctor, how's old Mr. Graham? How's my dad, Sean? Sean came out closely behind, but he ignored everyone else and walked straight up to Benjamin. After taking off his mask, he reported to the latter regarding Darius' condition. Old Mr. Graham is out of danger, Benjamin. There's nothing serious, but you still have to be careful not to agitate him too much. Benjamin could finally breathe a sigh of relief after hearing that. Okay, got it. Sean then gave instructions to have Darius sent to the ward, and everyone followed suit. Orissa herded her children there with Mary, discovering that the latter's ward was on the same floor. Old Mr. Graham needs to rest. Everyone should wait for him to wake up before visiting him. We don't need too many people here. Please go back, everyone. Using his authority as a doctor, Sean helped Benjamin issue the instruction while standing at the entrance of the ward, preventing anyone from entering and disturbing Darius' rest. Everyone standing outside the door took a glance, and only after confirming that Darius' condition was stable did they leave feeling relieved. Brian and his wife also left with their children. The members of Nick's family saw them leave and decided they did not want to stay either, so they followed them. After all, Nick was still at the police station. Nick's wife initially intended to ask Benjamin to intercede for her husband but ultimately decided against it as she believed Nick to be innocent. She thought that it must have been a mistake. Those people finally left. It's much more peaceful now, Kingsley remarked with a scoff. Jonathan nodded. It's just for show. He was referring to the members of Brian's and Nick's families. Mr. Bailey, can we visit Grandpa? Gavin raised his head and asked Sean. His brows were tightly knit, and his eyes were filled with worry. The same expression was on the faces of Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse as they fixed their red-rimmed eyes on the doctor. Sean's heart ached when he saw their worried looks. Crouching down, he patted their heads and said comfortingly, "Your grandpa just had surgery, so let him rest. Don't worry, sweethearts, I'm here." He then patted his chest and assured, "You can come and play with him when he wakes up." "Okay, we got it. Thank you, Mr. Bailey," the 6 children replied gratefully. Sean caressed their heads affectionately. "Such good children. You guys must have been so scared." "Of course not," Jasper refuted while sniffling, looking extremely adorable. "No, why are your eyes so red then?" Sean asked them teasingly. "That's because sand got in our eyes." Jessie also denied that she had cried by retorting in her cute voice. The adults could not help but burst into laughter. At that moment, Ethan inched closer to Benjamin and reported in a low voice, "Everything has been arranged, Mr. Graham." The latter inclined his head a fraction. By then, there were already several bodyguards stationed outside Darius' ward. "Tell them that no one can enter other than us." "Understood." Ethan nodded before giving out the instructions accordingly. "Grandaunt, go back and rest. Everything is fine here now," Benjamin said to Mary. "All right." The latter did not refuse, not wanting to cause them any trouble. "You take the children back too. I'll stay and keep Dad company for a while." Benjamin also instructed Orissa to take the children home first since there was no need for too many people to be around the hospital. She looked at him and replied, "All right. I'll take them home. Let me know if Dad wakes up." Benjamin nodded before instructing Ethan to drive them back. Chapter 1014. You guys should go back too. It's been a tiring night, Benjamin said while looking at Kingsley and the others. We'll leave in a bit. Kingsley and Jonathan shared a glance and unanimously decided. Benjamin paid them no heed because he was focused on getting Orissa to bring the kids home so they could rest. Sweethearts, let's head home, Orissa said to her 6 children. With much reluctance, they peeked into the ward before leaving with her. Orissa, along with the children, sent Mary back to her ward. You guys head back. I'm fine here. The latter did not want the children to stay in the hospital, so she told Orissa to take them home to rest. We'll head back now, Grandaunt. I'll come back at noon, Orissa said to Mary. We're off, then. The elderly lady responded, you need not visit my ward at noon. Just go to your father-in-law's. Orissa said nothing and merely smiled. Great Grandaunt, we're leaving now. All 6 children waved at Mary before following their mother into the elevator and going downstairs. Mommy, can we also visit Grandpa in the afternoon? Gavin asked. His siblings also looked at their mother expectantly. Seeing how worried the children were about their grandfather, Orissa smiled at them. Of course. I'll bring you all here. Okay. The children smiled back. When do you think Grandpa will wake up, Mommy? Zachary asked with a frown. Grandpa fainting today was such a scary sight. I'm guessing it won't be that fast. People get tired easily after having surgery. Ethan already had the car ready at the entrance when Orissa led them out of the elevator. I'll send you all home, Mrs. Graham, he said as he opened the car door for the children. Thank you, Orissa replied with a nod. She then lifted her children into the car before sitting next to them. After closing the door, Ethan and Jack drove back to Yaleview while a second car carrying bodyguards followed behind. Meanwhile, outside Darius' ward upstairs, Kingsley asked Benjamin, "Benjamin, what should we do about Nick?" A malicious look flitted across Benjamin's eyes. His thin lips parted, and he replied in a cold and ruthless tone, "Give all the evidence to Jonathan and take over this matter after settling Donna's matter." He showed no hesitance at all. After all, what his brother did had struck a nerve. Hearing that, Kingsley merely nodded in response. Jonathan also realized what they were talking about and said solemnly, "Don't worry. I have a way to keep him behind bars, but old Mr. Graham." Benjamin shot him a glance. Dad won't object to it. Despite Darius previously turning a blind eye to it, Benjamin knew very well that his father loved his grandchildren more than anything and would never condone anyone trying to get rid of their family, even his biological son. Jonathan nodded. There's nothing to worry about then. Kingsley looked at them and asked in puzzlement, "Why is Donna's case still not closed? I seem to remember that it's been dragging on for a long time." His misconception, coupled with the fact that a lot had been happening over the past few days, gave him the impression that it had long been over. "It'll be closed on Monday," Jonathan replied as he glanced at Kingsley. "That's good. The earlier that woman is behind bars, the sooner we'll feel at ease," the latter said, for he had never liked her. Sean looked at them and said to Benjamin, "Go in and be by old Mr. Graham's side, Benjamin. Press the call bell if you need anything, and I'll come over." "Okay, you've done a lot already, so get some rest." Benjamin patted him on the shoulder gratefully. If Sean hadn't rescued Dad at the old manor, Dad wouldn't have been out of danger so quickly. Sean smiled before turning to Kingsley and Jonathan. "Aren't you guys going back?" Kingsley abruptly put his arm around the doctor. "I'll go to your lounge to rest. I haven't rested since last night. Please prescribe me some sleeping pills." Sean was at a loss for words. Chapter 1015. Jonathan glanced at them, then walked away, saying, "I'm leaving now. I've got matters to attend to at my law firm." Sean pushed Kingsley away. "Don't put your arm around me." Jonathan was shooting us a strange look just now. After saying that, he ignored the other man and walked toward his office. "What's there to be afraid of? We are all men." Kingsley laughed and hurried after him. After entering the ward and closing the door gently, Benjamin pulled a chair over and sat beside the hospital bed to keep an eye on Darius. His heart wrenched with guilt as he stared at his unconscious father. "I should have waited until the ceremony was over or called the police another day. Then, Dad probably wouldn't have fainted out of anger. However, thinking about something that has already happened won't fix anything." Benjamin pursed his lips before leaning over to tuck Darius' blanket in. Then, he fixated his eyes on his father while keeping his hands together in his lap. After bringing the children back to Yaleview and telling them to rest, Orissa busied herself in the kitchen. Edwin saw her bustling around when he came back from the old manor. "Is old Mr. Graham all right, Mrs. Graham?" he asked. Orissa looked at him and sighed. "He's out of danger but hasn't woken up yet when I came back." "That's good to know. We were all very worried." Despite nodding profusely, the worry on the butler's face was still present. "Old Mr. Graham is out of danger, Edwin. Don't worry too much," Orissa reassured him. He gave her another nod. She then asked, "Edwin, have all the relatives at the old manor left?" Since she wanted to return to Yaleview to prepare some food for Darius, she could care less about the situation at the old manor. "I've told them to go back. No one was in the mood to have dinner after what happened to old Mr. Graham. We've taken care of everything there, so you need not worry, Mrs. Graham." Edwin reported to her the events at the old manor. She inclined her head. "Thank you for doing that. We didn't even take care of it. It's all good as long as old Mr. Graham is fine." Thankfully, all the important things today have been completed. The butler replied with a smile. Orissa let out a sigh when she heard that. I know, right? I still have lingering fears thinking about the car accident last night. Never did she expect Nick to be behind the incident. Even if they don't share the same mother, there's no need to go to such extremes, is there? It was not until then that she truly realized how terrible they had been to Benjamin. All of them. Edwin, did all those people despise Benjamin when they shared a home? She inquired. The butler answered with fury in his eyes. Mr. Brian and Mr. Nick have always been hostile to him, and now they're even resorting to dirty measures and hiring someone to get rid of him. They're utterly despicable. Orissa's heart clenched when she heard that. Has Benjamin ever encountered anything like that before? She inquired. Edwin thought for a while before replying. A couple, but none as serious as this. Orissa pursed her lips and frowned. Aren't these people stepping way out of line? Don't worry, Mrs. Graham. Mr. Graham is not a pushover, and those people didn't gain any upper hand, the butler informed her for her peace of mind. Orissa nodded. What are you preparing, Mrs. Graham? Let me do it. Go get some rest. Edwin offered to take over the work after seeing how busy she was. No need. I can handle it. You've been busy all morning, Edwin, so go and rest. I can prepare lunch on my own. Despite her telling him to rest, he stayed and helped her in the kitchen with lunch. Meanwhile, after the 6 children had returned to their bedroom and changed their clothes, they ran downstairs. Their faces twisted with fury when they overheard Edwin and Orissa's conversation, and they instantly felt sorry for their father. These horrible uncles. I can't believe they bullied Daddy. The children looked at each other before running to the study tacitly. Meanwhile, Orissa did not notice them coming downstairs and continued focusing on making lunch. Chapter 1016. Gavin, Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jesse hid in the study. At that moment, Gavin was surrounded by his siblings. Gavin, have they been bullying Daddy? Zachary frowned, fuming with anger. Gavin gave his siblings a look and nodded. Daddy will become their main target as if he owes it to them whenever they are around. They'll tone it down whenever Grandpa is around but become really harsh when Grandpa isn't. Gavin balled his hands into fists in anger. Why? Jasper was confused. I think it's because they have different moms. Our grandma isn't Uncle Brian and Uncle Nick's mom. Gavin stared at his siblings as that was all he knew. That's the reason why they bully Daddy. Tim's heart ached for Benjamin. He could relate because there were stepmothers who treated their stepchildren as their own and those who treated their stepchildren poorly back in the village. Gavin shook his head and replied, maybe there's more to it, but Daddy didn't tell me. Oliver rolled his eyes as he gave it some thought. Gavin, do you think Mr. Whitley would know? Gavin pondered for a bit before he answered, Mr. Whitley won't tell us. Why? Jesse frowned and pouted. Probably because Daddy forbids him. Zachary's eyes sparkled with an idea. Let's just ask Daddy then. The kids exchanged looks and agreed that their father was the only one who could give them answers. Let's go help Mommy out, Gavin suggested as he led his siblings out of the study. Yes, let's. Then we can visit Grandpa earlier at the hospital. The kids ran in the direction of the kitchen. Mommy, let us help. Orissa smiled when she saw the kids squeezing through the doorway. No need. Go out and play. Mr. Whitley is helping me, so there's nothing for you guys to do around here. Mommy, don't you need to cut and wash the vegetables? Jessie asked in a childish voice. She beat her siblings to it by running into the kitchen first and hugging Orissa's leg. Orissa lowered her gaze and looked at Jessie with a smile. It's fine. Go play with your brothers. I'll call you when lunch is ready. Mommy, we can help. Gavin stared at Orissa. Orissa chuckled. It will be faster for Mr. Whitley and me to do it. You can help next time. Mommy, can we eat at the hospital with Grandpa and Daddy? Tim asked. Sure. You can eat with great-grandaunt as well, Orissa replied. With that, the children ran out of the kitchen happily. Orissa smiled before turning around to continue preparing lunch. The kids called Mary to tell her to wait for them for lunch before giving Benjamin a call. They waited for a long while before the call got through. Daddy, Gavin shouted. Mr. Graham. His siblings followed his lead and shouted in unison. Are you guys home? Benjamin asked. Yes. We've been back for a while now. Mommy is preparing lunch, Gavin reported. Zachary asked anxiously, Mr. Graham, has Grandpa woken up yet? Not yet. Benjamin turned to check on the ward as he replied. The kids sighed in dismay. Don't worry, Grandpa has just fallen asleep, Benjamin comforted them. Daddy, please take care of yourself as well. Don't tire yourself out. We will come over to accompany you for lunch in a bit, the kids said out of concern. Benjamin's heart warmed when he heard that. A smile tugged at the corner of his lips. Okay, Daddy, what do you want to eat? I'll go tell Mommy to make it for you. Gavin stared at Benjamin. Daddy is frowning. He must be worried for Grandpa. Chapter 1017. I'll eat whatever fills the stomach. Tell your mommy not to work too hard, Benjamin instructed his son. He didn't have much of an appetite. Don't worry too much about it, Mr. Graham. Grandpa will be fine, Zachary comforted Benjamin. Tim nodded. Yes. Mr. Bailey already said Grandpa is out of danger. Mommy also said that he's just fallen asleep. Mr. Graham, we'll swap with you when we get there. You can take a nap this afternoon. I'm sure Grandpa will wake up after you do, Jasper assured him. What are you talking about? Grandpa will be awake by noon. Oliver smacked Jasper on the head lightly. Jasper rubbed his head sheepishly. Benjamin was gratified to see his kids expressing concern for Darius and himself. You all should stay home. Don't worry about things here. Just be good. No way. Mommy promised she would bring us there. We want to accompany you and Grandpa and great-grandaunt for lunch. Jesse explained to Benjamin hurriedly in case they were not allowed to go. Benjamin sighed. He thought it was tiring for them to run around all day. Why did you go back when you want to come again? Benjamin teased. He turned around to check on the ward and saw that Darius had yet to wake up. The kids shrugged and muttered, You asked Mommy to bring us back home and we didn't want to trouble you. Benjamin arched a brow. I don't think you are trouble. We just don't need so many people in the ward. You're still very young. Staying in the hospital for prolonged periods is not good for you. The kids smiled in delight. Daddy, we're not scared. Moreover, it's the weekend. We want to spend more time with Grandpa and great-grandaunt. That way, you and Mommy can rest well. Gavin's eyes lit up mischievously. Yes, you and Mommy can go out on dates. Jasper uttered with a grin. Their words took Benjamin by surprise. What happened to the kids? What made them change their minds? They were very reluctant when he took Arissa out last time. Yeah, it's the weekend. You should take Mommy out on a date. Don't worry about Grandpa and great-grandaunt. We'll keep them company. Zachary chipped in. He approved of Benjamin taking Arissa out on dates. What made you change your minds? Benjamin asked out of curiosity. The kids stared at him with innocent eyes. What do you mean? Benjamin scrutinized them intently. He could tell that something was off. I thought you guys were against me going out alone with your mother. Why are you suggesting that I take her out on dates now? Of course you need to take her out on dates. How else are we going to test you if you don't? Zachary replied without missing a beat. That's right. Jessie nodded her head vigorously. Benjamin chuckled. Okay, I know what to do. That's more like it. Oliver smiled a smile that reached his eyes. Mr. Graham, you can start checking out places to go on dates with Mommy tonight. Tim reminded Benjamin to prepare in advance. Benjamin nodded. I will think about it. He quickly replied in case they came up with any more suggestions. Whether he could go out on a date with Arissa depended on when Darius woke up. They wouldn't be able to date in peace if Darius didn't wake up. Eat your lunch at home before coming over. Tell your mommy that, Benjamin reminded his kids. Why? The kids asked in unison. Benjamin explained, it's not convenient for you to eat in the ward. Just bring the food over when you're done. But we just told great-grandaunt to wait for us to have lunch. Benjamin sighed as he met their expectant gazes. Come earlier then. The kids grinned widely at that. Chapter 1018. Daddy, has Grandpa woken up yet? Gavin asked once again. Benjamin turned to check on Darius. Not yet. Okay, we'll hang up now. Go keep Grandpa company. The kids ended the call after that. Benjamin chuckled and put his phone away before returning to the ward to stay by Darius' side. Meanwhile, at Yaleview, Orissa and Edwin were done preparing lunch. Orissa served the kids soup to ease their hunger first. "Come here, sweethearts." The kids ran over when they heard their mother calling for them. "What is it, Mommy?" The kids surrounded Orissa and stared at her. "Sweethearts, drink some soup first. I need to go to the restroom. We'll visit Grandpa and Great-Grandaunt in the hospital in a bit," Orissa instructed the kids. "Mommy, we want to eat at the hospital," Zachary shouted. "Drink your soup first. We still have time, and I don't want you to go hungry." Orissa quickly went upstairs. She had rushed to prepare lunch when she returned home just now and had yet to change. "Come on, kids. Hurry up and drink your soup. We'll leave right after. It'll take some time for us to get to the hospital. You guys will be very hungry by then, so drink up," Edwin persuaded the kids. The kids had no choice but to sit at the table and drink the soup since it had already been served. "Be careful, it's hot," Edwin reminded the children affectionately. "Mr. Whitley, are you not eating?" they asked. Edwin smiled. "I'm not hungry yet." Orissa washed up hastily in the restroom and changed into a fresh set of clothes. She then removed her necklace and earrings, as she still had them on, and placed them back in her jewelry box. However, she did keep her bracelet on. The kids were almost done with their soup when Orissa went back downstairs. "Mommy, we're done," the kids reported. Orissa smiled. "That was fast." "Of course. After all, you were rushing us, Mommy," Jasper said proudly. "Let's go to the hospital, sweethearts. Do any of you need to use the bathroom before we leave?" Orissa asked. The kids looked at each other before shaking their heads. "Let's go then." Orissa picked up part of the food she had packed for everyone while Edwin carried the rest since he would also be visiting Darius at the hospital. They traveled in a car with Edwin in the front passenger seat. He waited till Orissa and the kids were buckled up before instructing the driver to drive. The kids were elated to see Edwin coming along and chatted with him while Orissa texted Benjamin. "Orissa, Edwin, the kids, and I have departed for the hospital. Has Dad woken up yet?" Benjamin saw her text message and replied, "Not yet." Orissa sighed, concerned over Darius' well-being. "Orissa, see you soon." Benjamin, "Okay." Orissa smiled when she saw his instant reply. "Mommy, who are you texting?" Jessie scooted over to see but couldn't as the screen had darkened to lock itself. Orissa glanced at Jessie and noticed that the rest of the kids were also staring at her. With a smile, she answered, "It's your daddy." "Oh," Jasper smiled teasingly. Orissa stared at him. "What?" Jasper merely grinned wider and kept quiet. "Mommy, what did you say to Daddy?" Gavin's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Orissa looked at the kids with a smile. "I told him we're on the way and asked if your grandpa has woken up." "Mrs. Graham, as old Mr. Graham is awake." Edwin turned to face Orissa. Orissa shook her head as her smile dimmed. "Not yet." The kids sighed, worried about Darius. "Why hasn't Grandpa woken up?" "He will," Orissa assured the kids. Chapter 1019. Orissa, Edwin, and the kids arrived at the hospital and immediately rushed to Darius' ward. Benjamin checked the time and waited for their arrival at the door as he had a feeling they would be there sometime soon. Orissa was pleasantly surprised to see Benjamin waiting for their arrival at the door when the elevator doors opened. "Were you waiting for us, Mr. Graham?" "Daddy," the kids yelled in delight and ran over when they saw Benjamin. Taken by surprise, Benjamin received the kids with open arms. "Yes," he replied Orissa. Orissa smiled and followed Edwin out of the elevator. "Mr. Graham," Edwin greeted Benjamin and offered to help Orissa bring the food to the ward. "Give me the food, Mrs. Graham. I'll bring it over." "No need, Edwin, I can do it myself." Orissa rejected his offer and held on to the food. "Daddy, has Grandpa woken up yet?" Gavin asked anxiously. Benjamin patted his head and said in a low voice, "Not yet." The kids sighed and followed Edwin into the ward to check on Darius. Benjamin reached for Orissa's hand. Smiling, she extended it to him. They entered Darius' ward hand in hand. "The kids said you prepared lunch. Have you eaten?" "Not yet. I brought them over the moment I was done." I did get the kids to drink a bowl of soup in case they get hungry. Orissa noticed that Benjamin looked tired. Go get some rest after lunch. I will keep Dad company. Benjamin chuckled. The kids said the same thing, but I'm not tired. Benjamin tightened his grip to prove that he was still full of energy. You're not tired, but your body still needs to rest. The kids were leaning against the bed staring at Darius when the couple entered the ward. They kept quiet since Darius had yet to wake up. Edwin placed Darius' portion of the food aside. He then turned to Benjamin and asked, Mr. Graham, will you be having your lunch here or outside? Where are you guys eating? Benjamin asked Orissa. Orissa looked him in the eye and smiled. You guys can eat here. I'll eat with Grandaunt. Let's all go together. Dad hasn't woken up yet anyway, Benjamin decided. Edwin smiled. Mr. Graham, you go ahead with Mrs. Graham. I'll stay here to keep an eye on old Mr. Graham. Benjamin nodded and called for the kids. Let's have lunch with your great-grandaunt. Okay. The kids turned around to check on Darius several times on their way out as they were reluctant to leave. Orissa smiled. We'll come back here to check on Grandpa after lunch. Okay. The kids nodded and walked over to Benjamin's side. Orissa had prepared lunch for Edwin as well. You should eat too, Edwin. We'll head over to Grandaunt's ward first. Don't worry, Mrs. Graham. You guys should go, Edwin answered with a smile. Bye. Benjamin reached out to help Orissa carry the food and walked out of the ward. Orissa's heart skipped a beat as she stared at Benjamin's broad shoulders. Let me help you with some of that. It's quite heavy. However, Benjamin refused. He glared at her and said, Why did you carry so much when you know it's heavy? Orissa chuckled and said nothing. The kids ran in front of them. It didn't take long for them to reach Mary's ward as the two rooms were close by. Great-grandaunt, we're here. Did we keep you waiting for long? Are you hungry, great-grandaunt? Mary was elated to see their arrival. I ate some finger food just now, so I'm fine. Benjamin placed the food on the table while Orissa went to help get Mary down from the bed. Grandaunt, let's have lunch there. Okay. Mary nodded and joined them for lunch. Chapter 1020. Is your father awake yet, Benjamin? Mary asked worriedly as she was concerned about Darius. Benjamin looked at her and said, Not yet. He won't be waking up so soon. Mary nodded in response. Come over here and have lunch, Orissa called out to them while serving the food. All 6 of the kids were seated together and quietly eating their food. You should eat a little more, Orissa reminded Benjamin while topping up his plate. Benjamin nodded and did the same for her. You need to eat more as well. Orissa's lips curled into a smile. For some reason, the food seemed to taste better after he did that. Mary and the 6 kids were grinning at each other after seeing the couple's lovey-dovey moment. Orissa was flustered when she saw their reaction and hung her head to continue eating. Benjamin was under a lot of stress at first, but he felt a lot better when he saw her blushing slightly. Orissa turned to look at him when she felt his scorching gaze, only to see him smiling at her while staring affectionately into her eyes. Her heart skipped a beat as she quickly blinked and averted her gaze. The smile on Benjamin's lips grew even wider when he saw that. Nobody said a word as they continued having lunch, and yet, there was an unmistakable warm feeling in the air around them. Sean was making his rounds when he saw them having lunch. What's this? Are you guys having lunch without me? Orissa turned around and motioned for him to come over. Come join us, Mr. Bailey. We've only just started eating a while ago. Sean glanced at Benjamin and replied with a chuckle, I was just kidding. You guys carry on. I'll go take a look at old Mr. Graham and have lunch with Kingsley later. Mr. Watts is still here. Orissa was surprised to hear that Kingsley was still at the hospital. Yup, he's taking a nap in my office right now. Sean replied while walking off. Aren't you going to join us for lunch, Mr. Bailey? Gavin asked, prompting the other kids to look at him curiously as well. No, I still have work to do. Sean winked at them as he turned around and left. We have a lot of food, though. Mr. Bailey could have joined us for lunch. Jessie exclaimed with a pout. Benjamin shot her a glance and topped up her plate with a slice of meat. Mr. Bailey is a busy man. Now, hurry up and eat your food. Okay. Jessie grinned as she carried on eating. Benjamin felt a warm sensation in his heart as he watched her happily munch away. He then topped up the plates of his 5 other kids with some salad. As for himself, Benjamin was full after having a plate of pasta and a bowl of soup. "You guys carry on. I'll go check on Dad," Benjamin told Orissa and the others as he wiped his mouth and stood up. Orissa looked up at him in surprise. "You're full already?" Benjamin nodded. "Yeah." He then gave her a gentle flick on the forehead before walking off. Orissa was staring blankly at him as he slowly disappeared from sight. It wasn't until the kids teased her that she snapped out of her dazed state and retracted her gaze. "Mr. Graham isn't there anymore, Mommy. What are you still staring at?" Oliver asked with a snicker. Mommy's eyes were totally glued to Mr. Graham. Jasper chimed in as well. Orissa couldn't help but let out a helpless sigh when she heard them teasing her. She then put on a stern expression to hide her embarrassment as she asked, "How dare you kids laugh at me, huh? You want me to give you all a spanking?" The 2 boys giggled and kept quiet after that. Gavin, Zachary, and Tim were grinning from ear to ear when they saw how shy Orissa was being. "You've got stars in your eyes, Mommy," Jessie mumbled with food in her mouth. Orissa grabbed a paper towel and wiped the corner of her mouth. "Don't talk while chewing your food. You're lucky your daddy isn't here to catch you doing that." Jessie stuck her tongue out and flashed her a smug grin. "Mr. Graham wouldn't mind." Orissa's eyelids twitched when she heard that. HMPH. Benjamin stopped being strict toward Jessie ever since he found out that she's a girl. He used to reprimand me for being too lenient with Jessie, but now, he is being even more lenient toward her.